Hey Star Wars fans, thank you so much for clicking on my video. This is Finding the Force, where I cover anything Star Wars, especially Tales of the Jedi, the brainchild of Dave Filoni, our Star Wars savior, who has come to save us all from Andor. I'm just kidding. Let's not open up that can of worms. Gosh. If you're new to the channel, I cover theme parks, TV shows, movies, and especially our favorite metal collectibles, lightsabers. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss my upcoming lightsaber reviews coming up in my regularly scheduled programming, like the Anakin Skywalker, yeah, and the Cal Kestis, yeah. How do I simply put this? That I enjoyed Tales of the Jedi very much. And I want to share with you guys my thoughts, observations, I guess overall review of Tales of the Jedi. Again, these are all just my opinions, and I encourage comments and conversations as long as they're respectful. And before I get started, I wanted to tell you guys that I love sharing my thoughts. I want to make more videos like this, talking about films and TV shows, if we ever get another Star Wars film. But I want to tell you guys that I think there's a lot of Star Wars content creators on YouTube who want to share more of their thoughts, but they're kind of afraid of their fans disagreeing with them and any kind of negative backlash. And so if you guys caught my last Brave video talking about why Andor is not really my cup of tea, then you know that you're only going to get my honest opinion, whether it's on products or the shows and films that are coming out from Lucasfilm and Disney. To me, one of the core values of Star Wars that I love sharing with my son is that pretty much everywhere in the Star Wars galaxy, there is a universal acceptance of everyone, no matter what their shape, color, size. There's such diversity, and there's an acceptance of everyone's differences. So why, as Star Wars fans, can't we reciprocate what we're enjoying as a group? Let's reciprocate that to each other and celebrate the differences, and that there's so many different kinds of Star Wars content that we can pick and choose and enjoy differently. And let's keep the comments down below positive and respectful. I really appreciate that for all of you who shared your thoughts on the Andor video that I made. So speaking on that note, I'm not afraid to drink out of my little droid cup here, So I want to thank Clive. Thank you so much for that super chat on my video about Andor. And same rules apply. If any of you are curious what I've got in my BB-8 droid drink here, I'd really appreciate another super thanks for this video. I'll pin your comment and disclose the mystery beverage in my droid. So I caught a recent video from Star Wars Theory, who made a message to Lucasfilm and Disney completely singing the praises of Dave Filoni, and I couldn't agree with him more. I feel like we as fans are so lucky to have Dave Filoni, who is thinking of not only the characters as he's growing the galaxy and the universe, but also thinking of the fans. And, I was lucky enough to get to see him at the D23 convention and the Star Wars Celebration convention. Wish I could have gotten his autograph. I have so much respect for him, and I tend to enjoy all of the content that he creates, and this new 6-part mini-series, Tales of the Jedi, was no exception. Let's just dive right in. I'll just briefly talk about my observations and thoughts, and tell you about my favorite key parts I think that I enjoyed the most from every episode. Let's get started. Just a thought, guys. Please leave a comment down below. Why did we get 6 short episodes? I wanted every minute I could get of this series. Why only 10 minutes? Why so short? I suspect Disney is at the bottom of this. It's, hey, I'm happy to have it, and I'll thank you for it. But I've noticed that Disney has made miniseries of Big Hero 6. They recently had a miniseries of Cars, but it felt like they could have made a movie out of it very easily. I don't know why they put it into short clips, except I think Disney is trying to hop on the short bandwagon and to be more like Instagram and TikTok, maybe. Happy to have it. Happy to get anything from Dave that I can get. So, episode 1, Life and Death, not only the origin story, but the birth of Ahsoka Tano, who, by the way, has seriously won me over since I saw her in that first animated film. Orange, wearing a tube top, very insecure, and I wasn't quite sure about her at first, but has completely won me over. I'm a fan, especially after meeting Ashley Eckstein at the Star Wars Celebration convention, getting her autograph, and a quote, "May the Force be with you." She was an absolute sweetheart. Anyone who's met her will tell you the same. She had I think she had like the longest and most enthusiastic lines out of all the celebrities. There's a whole generation that has grown up with the Clone Wars. So Ahsoka, it's safe to say, is a fan favorite for most of you fans out there. What better way to start the 6-part miniseries than Ahsoka's origin story? And the first thing I noticed for this episode were the absolutely beautiful landscapes. We're on our home planet of Shili. The computer animation and graphics has definitely improved. You can see it kind of improve over the seasons of the Clone Wars, but especially here, looked fantastic. And it was a common reoccurrence, a common theme throughout all 6 episodes, as I feel like Lucasfilm was almost like flexing their computer animation muscle so they can make these shows and series now. And it was really beautiful getting a close look at her tribe, I think it's called, on Shili, and how they're such respectful and spiritual people. I loved the phrase when they shoot that space deer, and she says something to the effect of, this is going to feed many in the tribe. We don't want to waste any of this animal. They're respectful people. They're not out trying to dominate and take over other tribes. They seem very peaceful. And I would not mind vacationing on Shili after seeing this episode. I looked up on the internet, and I think it's called an Akul that steals Ahsoka away from her mother when she's hunting, and they get kind of surprised. This massive, enormous bobcat takes her off into its den, and just as it's about to sink its teeth into Ahsoka's face, this is my first favorite moment, key moment of the whole episode, when she just gently puts her hand and tames the entire beast. He didn't look mesmerized. I wonder if maybe the Force flowed into the Akul and maybe gave this bobcat like a view into the future of what her destiny was and how important it was to the galaxy. Maybe he got a glimpse of that, or maybe it was just a simple kind of like pacification. Either way, let me know in the comments what you guys thought that maybe that bobcat could have seen from Ahsoka's little baby hand as 1-year-old. But a really beautiful moment. And one pattern I'll probably mention a couple times is the dramatic lighting in this series was breathtaking. I think in a lot of cartoons or animated shows, there's one light and all the characters can be seen. Dave really uses the light as the director and the producer and the writer, and he uses light as one of his tools, and it shows. Excellent storytelling. And the episode ends with the village's spiritual leader, who I believe was called Gontika, as saying, "She is Jedi." Boom. Lights out, roll the credits. Fantastic storytelling. Loved it. Fun. So much, such a breath of fresh air to see Ahsoka's origin story as the first episode. It wasn't a lightsaber duel. It was kind of a gradual, peaceful way to begin the 6-episode series. And also, I think Ahsoka's very near and dear to Dave's heart. And I think he maybe wanted to start with, the star and kind of build off it. The next episode is called Justice. I think they found a very talented voice actor for Dooku, and I'm really excited to see more of Dooku in the future content for Star Wars and Lucasfilm. Wow, it was so exciting seeing Dooku, young Jedi, on the light side of things for the time being. And this episode was a great example that not all Star Wars stories are so simple, that there's a lot of politics and it gives it a lot of texture, the entire galaxy and the stories. So in this story, the town, out of desperation, they kidnap the senator's son. So Dooku tracks him down and shows up at this village with his Padawan, who remains nameless till the very end of the episode, which was like clutch. And I love how much more about Dooku's character I learned from this series. For example, when he sits down in like this tavern in this small town, he takes his saber and pow, puts it on the table. And I find out that he's really like not a shoot first kind of guy, but he's like a activate first kind of Jedi. So he sets his saber down on the table to show he means business, right? And he's like, will someone tell me where the senator's son is? And that's when the villagers tell them their story, that they are just having awful hard times and they're getting no support from their senators. And then an ethical dilemma really emerges from the story, that is kidnapping justified as a last resort to famine and poverty? Even the guy who was kidnapped said like, hey, I don't have it as bad as these guys do. And this is when I really noticed in the series that the animation to the expressions on the characters' faces were so profound that I could tell exactly what Dooku was thinking by the gestures on his face, realizing that this is not a really simple story of who broke the law or not, but that there's a real ethical dilemma here going on, and he wasn't sure how he's going to solve it. So without giving any time at all to think of all the options, the senator shows up, starts calling the shots, and then Dooku totally defends the town and you know, saber activated, and there's all this action and blasters everywhere. This was a very key moment when Dooku was first exposed to Republic corruption and questioning the Jedi Council and who they are really truly serving. And he saw the corruption in the senator, and seeing him use the dark side of the Force to choke him was pretty powerful stuff, you guys. And Qui-Gon having to run up and like get him to stop, you know, really shows that you can have a master and a Padawan. That doesn't mean the Padawan may not know more than the master on occasion, right? The episode ends with Dooku naming Qui-Gon, for all of you who are new to a lot of the lore and the backstories. And I think my favorite part of this episode was when Dooku decided to stand up for the villagers and defend them until they could at least find like a proper resolution. That really seems to me one of Dooku's core values as a character was justice and truth, which are surprising to me since I've only known him as a bad guy up until this series. This is my Dooku Galaxy's Edge saber, by the way. It's blue. What? I've asked in previous videos, because I've reviewed this saber a couple of times, Galaxy's Edge, Force Effects, because I had a really hard time believing that a Jedi on the light side could get away with wielding this thing. His light-sided saber had kind of mutated and changed into this dark-sided, more scary and villainous design to it, which totally made sense. Now in the next episode, the third one, Choices, I really enjoyed getting a deeper look into Dooku's Jedi character and also into Mace Windu, who I didn't really know was so like on the straight and narrow, very by the book kind of a Jedi. I didn't get that feel from Sam Jackson from the prequels, but maybe it's because there was a large overwhelming problem going on where everyone was kind of in agreement. I was a little surprised actually that when Dooku had this sense and he had these suspicions that there was foul play with the death of this Jedi Master, that Mace wasn't more concerned. He kind of was saying, dude, why don't you mind your own business? Why don't you just believe the word of the senator that it was an ambush? When they meet and question the senator a bit, and Mace turns to Dooku and says, hey, I think that he's hiding something too. Let's take this back to the council and we'll figure out what our next step is. I wonder, leave a comment down below, guys. Do you think they would have ended up at the same resolution if they had followed the rules, taken Mace Windu's suggestion, gone back to the Jedi Council to return with more Jedi or communicate with them about doing a deeper investigation? Do you think they could have ended up at the same resolution? Again, in this part of the episode where they're at the scene of the crime and Dooku is looking around at the trees, and there's such a beautiful atmosphere of all those, like, of the forest, and there's, I don't know, dust particles floating in the air. And not daytime, it's not nighttime. There's dramatic light kind of beaming through the trees. Just overall beautiful scene. And we see again that when Dooku, you know, approaches the senator by calling his bluff, a lot of Dooku's findings don't make sense and corroborate with the senator's story, that he was like, he activated that saber so fast and used that intimidation, which totally worked. But I'm telling you, he's an activate first guy. Is that a thing? Has anyone else coined that? There's this awesome action scene and they wind up with their sabers at the guards' throats. And that one guard says to heck with it. And he calls them Senate puppets before he reaches for a blaster and gets taken out. That really adds a lot of dynamic to the Star Wars story, which is true in reality, that there isn't just one universal view of looking at things. that depending on different people and planets, they have different opinions of the Jedi. And Dooku even finds that that there was some corruption, but we're going to get to that episode a little bit later because Yaddle talks about that with Dooku. And then the episode ends with the funeral of the Master Jedi who was killed. I thought it was pretty cool when they were interrogating the senator that like Dooku and Mace were playing kind of good cop, bad cop and like double teaming that senator. So he totally folded like a cheap suit and got taken out with the quickness once he called out all the guards and blamed it on them. I'm not going to lie, you guys, I kind of snickered a little bit. I thought it was great that, cut me some slack here, guys, if I'm mispronouncing his name, Kai-Adi-Mundi had like personally tailored like an extra tall hood to his robe so that he could wear his robe and it would stop at the right length and cover his like, large, noggin. But I thought that was pretty resourceful of him. Hey guys, I decided to make this video 2 parts, so I'll be covering episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Tales of the Jedi. In a few days, I'll post that video on Monday, so I hope you have a great weekend, take care, and make sure to have an awesome Star Wars day.